And so we are going to talk about high school senior girls. All right, so I do know, talking to different people around the world, this is not always prevalent where you live. Like in different countries, they don't do high school senior photos. However, when I first started my business, high school senior photos was what I made my living on. And so I've done a lot of this type of shooting, and I really like it. So the reason I like it so much is high school senior girls in particular let you get creative and then let you have fun. So if anything, out of pretty much anything that I'll be teaching besides boudoir, besides that one, this is where you can get most creative and have most poses. For everything else I do, I have like some just simple go-to poses. This I have a ton, but we're just gonna do 5. Okay, we're gonna focus on 5 and you build from there. So let's go to my top 5 high school senior girl posing guidelines. All right, so you can get more creative, but in the end, if you're getting really creative and you have the girl pose in a funky way and her expression's gone because she's uncomfortable, then it was a failed shot. When you do a fashion shoot, a lot of times the expression's less important. High school senior photo, it's all about what she looks like, all about that expression. So that would be number 1, is don't let your desire to get creative get in the way of the expression, but definitely what I recommend doing is go safe, then go crazy, then get creative. For my portrait sessions for high school seniors, what I always did was a basic hands on chair shot or hands on opposing table, girl leaning towards the camera, smile. I'd get those are the pictures that I know matched up with what grandma had on the wall and everything, so everybody had that shot that they wanted, and then she's lying on the ground, and then she's, you know, hanging out of a tree, like whatever it may be. That's why I like these the best, they get really creative. Okay, my tip number 2 is asymmetry. You want to be asymmetrical in your poses. So let me explain what that means. Whenever you have 2 things, don't mirror them usually if you want it to be really interesting. For example, 2 arms up, it's static and it's really kind of, I don't say like a rigid pose. You can kind of work that a little bit if you really want both arms up to just make them a little bit uneven. Then you could still do that. But in general, just plain old hands on the hips, for example. It's a little bit static. Maybe raise one up and lower the other. Try to get things a little bit more asymmetrical. Same thing is if you go ahead and are having somebody pose in a symmetrical way, at least maybe add some movement to it. So that is what gives it energy. Okay? Otherwise, symmetry is so straight up and down. Okay, next one is if the girl is standing, make sure she's not flat-footed. Oh, and a note for the entire day, there are a lot of things that you'll hear repeated that we talked about yesterday, and there's a couple poses that overlap because these are the essentials. They'll of course overlap, they should overlap. So one of them is, definitely with high school senior girls, make sure they're not flat-footed. Have them put their weight off on one hip. Or if they're facing towards camera, put their weight on their back foot. Make sure that their weight distribution is uneven. My tip number 4 is out of any subjects that I pose, high school kids, men and women, I use hands a lot more than a lot of the other subjects I pose, because you can get more creative. So for girls, I think that you can make some really great images where their arms and their hands frame their face and frame their body. So this would be a great opportunity if you want to get better at posing hands, master it with high school senior girls and then bring it into other areas of your photography. All the rules with hands apply before, so make sure that you check back in day 1. We talked about not seeing the palm, always seeing the side of the hand, things like that. Okay, and number 5. How I try to remember and not run out of poses for these particular subjects, high school seniors, is I think the standing shot's obvious, but you've got sitting, leaning, and laying, okay? So standing, sitting, leaning, and laying. So that's why I'm trying to think, okay, so, all right, so I did her standing shot. Okay, well, I can sit her in a chair, standing and sitting. I can lean her against a wall. I can lay her on the ground, towards the camera, to the side, so that I can think of new poses without having to memorize, because I take everything that I already know from my fundamentals and I say, take a seat, and then I tweak. Why don't you lay down, and then I tweak. So that would be my tips for coming up with good poses and then also flattering a high school senior girl.